I'd like to ask you, Niv
It's fine.
Davidovich, what
Um,
is the biggest risk?
in being a real estate owner,
However you want to, it's up to you to define what you consider to be the biggest risk.
I guess I'm somewhat tainted because the things that I deal with are either the expensive evictions or the expensive or difficult habitability claims. So to me, I'm always going to see that as the potential risk. I can't really necessarily speak to market conditions, because I think the people who bought the offices in 2019, they never thought that their Class A landmark buildings are going to crater in price by two-thirds. But obviously, having a global, pandemic, it's just not something put on your pro forma. So that's probably the biggest risk, but it's probably going to happen the least amount of times. In terms of regular risk, it can be these lawsuits because it's very easy for the tenants to find uh, tenant attorneys who are going to file them on contingency. And there's a proliferation of these types of attorneys happening in California. And I'll explain why. Uh, Personal injury, uh, even though it is viewed as, oh, those are the ambulance chasers and sort of like the low class attorneys, they're making way more money than a lot of these even white shoe lawyers. So the barrier to entry to get into personal injury is so high now because they're spending so much money on advertising and marketing. I'm talking about some of the big boys are spending millions of dollars, millions plural of dollars every month, not year, month. And that's because there's just a lot of money there. But in order to keep up with them, you need to spend that much money. If you can't, well, I'll move on to a different area where I can also make similar money. So they moved into employment. Well, now there's people spending all of that money in employment law. Also, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars every single month to get these employment claims because in California, get a good employment claim, you can really hit it big. So that barrier to entry became very big. And so they moved on to the next thing, which is the tenant habitability claims, where you can also potentially hit it big. Now, it's not as big as the PI, and it's not really as big as the employment, but lower barrier of entry as well. And so all these new lawyers who are coming out of law school every year that are more entrepreneurial and business minded, they need an area to get into that they can just open their shingle and just start doing it. And happens to be that habitability is something they can do. So that's happening a lot more. And if you don't have the proper insurance, you have one claim, it can kill you.